Okay, so this is just going to be a new video about a couple of new strats that I found for Tau outside and Tau inside. Most of the new stuff involves doing things in Tau outside, the first of which is grabbing a little object in this room. You're going to need this for hovering and for clipping later. So, the main thing that I found out today was that you don't move slow whenever you're hovering off objects underwater. For some reason, I never tested it out myself, but I always thought that while you're hovering off objects underwater, it made you move slower than your base run speed, but that's just not the case. So we're going to be hovering to the end of the map now. And the second thing that I found out was that, let's put physics debug on, these giant rectangular event triggers throughout this entire level, they go up pretty high, but when you hit them, it starts that underwater storm that causes your vision to get all shitty and all the stuff gets in your face and it looks like there's wind blowing against you, even though it's at the bottom of the sea. So yeah, that event slows your movement speed from 4.19 average to 3.3 average, so considerable drop in movement speed if you hit these giant triggers that are throughout the level. So we're going to use the object that we just got to fly over those. You can start the hover immediately after getting this object. I just wanted to come over here so that you can actually see this while I'm hovering over it. So, you need to get considerable height with this object, which isn't terribly easy. Hovering straight up in the air is not as easy underwater as it is above water when you use things like the wet floor sign. Anyway, once we get a decent amount of height with this, then we can just go through the map pretty much how we did before, just walking out of bounds, taking the straight path, except now we maintain our full 4.19 move speed throughout the level, and we don't have to climb up and down all of these mountains. And since we're hovering, the route is ever so slightly more direct. But there is one more thing that we're going to change on this map before we get to the end. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward to that, since the hover is pretty boring for the most part. Okay, here we are. I think it might be a little bit too high. Let's just drop down a little bit. I also went off a bit to the right. If you check out this map in Debug Overdraw, you are able to get a much better idea of where everything is beneath you. I just haven't practiced it that much myself. So, here's the light-colored ridge that we go around. And there's a section of the map right here, on the far side of it, where it comes to a right angle on the left. So we're going to hover down a bit to walk through a event trigger right there. And you can see in the top left corner I have map info on, and it says preloading 0402 Tau inside. That's the preload trigger for the next map. We're going to hit that, and it's going to save us some time going into Tau inside, which I'll explain a little bit later. But after we hover down and hit that, we're going to go back up, and then go ahead and finish the map. You can see the little lights down there beneath us, use that as a guide, and once we're at the end here, we can go ahead and drop down while still holding our object. So it's a bit more direct. Same movement speed as just running throughout, but we don't have to climb up all the mountains and shit. And we also get to keep this object, which is really important. So, right here, the next strat that saves a lot of time is, it has to do with the preload of this map and taking away the black load screen that we would normally do going into Tau inside. So, we're going to set this object down right in front of the Omni tool swipe, jump on top of it, swipe the Omni tool, and then we're going to hover up to this thing. We're going to back ourselves into the back right corner here, wait for the water to drain, and then let go and then re-grab this object to make it lose collision. Alright, we're just going to press R, bring it towards us, clip through the wall, and then jump on top of this thing. Now, and then we get to the end of this hallway. Since we preloaded Tau inside by hitting that trigger before, instead of having a black load screen and spawning us in player start position 1 in Tau inside, it's going to spawn our position where we spawned in relation to the entrance in the previous map. So instead of spawning inside of this depressurization room, we clipped out of bounds and went way up here, and it's going to maintain that position during the map transfer. So instead of waiting for this door to open, coming out, going into this door, grabbing the wet floor sign, clipping out of bounds, climbing on top of this roof, and then coming all the way over here, we just get to start the map in this position, so that saves shit ton of time. And since we skipped a lot of slowdown events in the previous level, we saved about 23 seconds doing the hover in Tau outside, and this out-of-bounds skip saves another 23 seconds, roughly, at the beginning of this map. It's all rough times, not sure exactly the optimal amount of time it would save if you do everything perfectly. It might be a little bit more, might be a little bit less, but it's still a vast improvement over the other strats that we did in these last two levels, so hope you found that helpful. I'll see you all for the next one.